do is we're going to apply the interfacing to the facings. So what we have is interfacing for the back neck facing and interfacing for the two front facings. And then we have these pieces. We have the front facings, the back neck facing, and we can at the same time do the collar. So we have the interfacing for the collar. So let's take it to the iron, and I'm going to fuse these pieces. In order to adhere the interfacing, the first thing I like to do is iron the piece of fabric. And you want to make sure very carefully you are adhering it to the wrong side. I know that sounds logical, but for some of you, the right side and the wrong side is almost indistinguishable. So the first thing you're going to do is iron the fusing onto the wrong side, not using steam. You want to use a dry iron and heat. You shouldn't need any pressure. And so here's the back neck facing. You're going to do the same thing with the collar. And we have two collar pieces which are the same, so it doesn't matter which side you interface. Lay it down, center it, and just fuse it. And a dry iron. Okay. And then the last thing you're going to interface is the facings. Iron them first. I have a big flaw in my fabric. And you're going to iron the facing to the wrong side. You're going to iron the interfacing to the wrong side of the facing. So that's it, okay? So what I'm doing for step 3 is I'm going to be assembling the facings with the back neck facing. The easiest way to do this is to put the facings wrong sides up so that you can see it makes almost like a circle, right? And we're going to be attaching it at the shoulders. So there are notches for the shoulders. So you want to make sure that you're sewing a 1/2 inch seam allowance at each of the shoulder seams. A few stitches, reverse, and you're going to do this on both sides of the shoulders. Other side, you're going to again attach your shoulder with a 1/2 inch shoulder seam. Shoulder seams, you're going to pink the shoulder seams. You could pink it, you could overlock it. I like pinking it because it's really flat. We're going to pink it, we're going to press it open, and then we're going to overlock it. So let's where we're going to press the shoulder seams open. Okay, good. On on the facing is to overlock the outside edge, the outside parameter. So I'm just going to shave a slight amount off. You can see that I'm just shaving a little bit off. And I'm going to overlock the whole outside. Okay. Now that you've overlocked the whole outside edge of the facing, what we're going to do is we're going to take it, fold it back 1/4 of an inch, and top stitch it. Okay? And you can do this from the wrong side of the fabric. You should have the wrong side up, and you can just do this by hand. You don't need to press it or measure it, or this is kind of just, it just makes the edge look a little nicer. Starting at one end, I'm just going to fold under 1/4 of an inch, take a few stitches, reverse, and if you can see what I'm doing, the fold line is in the center of the presser foot, and I'm just folding it and sewing. And I'll be doing this all along the outside edge. The next step, we're beginning the whole collar. And what you have for the collar right now is this. You have one piece which has fusing applied to the wrong side, and you have another piece that is unfused. So what you're going to do is you're going to place right sides together. You're going to place right sides together. And what we're going to be doing is sewing the outside edge. The outside edge. Now, do you see the side that has all the notches along it? That is the neck. This curved line is the neck. Do not sew the neck side. You're sewing, it flares out slightly. These are the 3 sides that you're sewing. It's exactly a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you're going to line up the raw edges together. Slowly and carefully matching your raw edges up, you're going to sew a 1/2 inch from the very edge, a few stitches, reverse, and what you want to make sure is that if you're not that comfortable sewing really accurately, you can always draw with a washable marker the 1/2 inch. Now, teachers do this a little differently. You can either pivot and do a 90-degree angle for the corner, or some teachers, and I'll do 1 and 1, you can see which looks better. Some teachers just take 1 stitch at a 45. And then sew all along this edge. You see how it was just a 45-degree, just for 1 stitch. And then, what? When you're turning it, yeah. And then when you come to the next corner, you can pivot at a 90-degree angle and sew up this side. Right to the end and reverse. Okay? After you do that, you're going to clip. Okay. So I'm going to press this collar, and I'm going to spend some time. You don't need to watch me unless you just want to hang out with me. I'm going to press it really, really carefully so I get the shape exactly beautifully. Okay. We're now at the point where our collar is completed, and we're going to be attaching it to the body of the blouse. So here's the blouse, and what you need to be careful of is that the side that is interfaced is going on the top, okay? That's the side that's going to be going to the world. You can start by matching the center back notch and pinning it. And there's a notch both on the blouse and on the collar. There is a notch for the shoulder seam. And there is a notch for the center front. So I have it pinned all along. I'm just going to double check that my collar is coming to the exact same place on both fronts. So that's it. What you're going to do now is you're going to attach the collar by just sewing all the way around the neck with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So starting at one end, you're going to sew a 1/2 inch. Making sure that your raw edges are totally equal. You're going to sew all the way around the neck to the other end of the collar, okay?